Sarah barely registered the rain streaking down the window as she hunched over her keyboard, the glow of the monitor reflecting in her tired eyes to by day. She was a mid-level IT specialist at a forgettable insurance company, drowning in spreadsheets and password resets by night. However, Sarah transformed. She was a ghost in the machine, a digital Houdini capable of navigating the most complex systems with an intuitive grace that bordered on the uncanny. Her apartment, a cramped but cozy space, above a bustling bakery, was her sanctuary at a chaotic nest of tangled wires, disassembled gadgets, and half-empty coffee mugs. It was a stark contrast to the sterile, corporate environment she inhabited during the day here. Surrounded by the tools of her trade, she felt truly alive. Tonight, she was chasing a digital rabbit down a hole she probably shouldn't have even noticed in the first place. IT had started innocently enough. A routine system audit for a small nonprofit she volunteered for. Their network security was laughably weak, and Sarah, with her penchant for digital altruism, had offered to take a look. While patching vulnerabilities, she stumbled across a peculiar data stream, an encrypted packet seemingly misdirected. Curiosity, that age-old siren song, had lured her closer. The encryption was sophisticated, far beyond anything the nonprofit would utilize. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, deploying a custom-built decryption algorithm she'd been tinkering with for months. The code, a swirling vortex of numbers and symbols, began to unravel, slowly revealing its secrets. It took hours, fueled by lukewarm coffee and a growing sense of unease. Finally, the data yielded that IT was a fragment, a mere sliver of a much larger communication, but enough to raise the hairs on the back of her neck. The sender was Omnicorp, the monolithic tech conglomerate that seemed to have its fingers in everything from social media to satellite surveillance. The recipient was unknown. The content, though heavily redacted, spoke of Project Nightingale and unforeseen variables requiring immediate mitigation. Sarah knew Omnicorp. Everyone did. They were the behemoth that promised a seamless, connected future, a future built on data and algorithms. Their products were ubiquitous, their influence pervasive. But this felt different. The clipped, clinical language hinted at something far more sinister than a simple product launch or marketing campaign. She tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just internal jargon, a harmless project name blown out of proportion by her overactive imagination. But the nagging feeling persisted, a cold knot of dread tightening in her stomach. She ran the decrypted fragment through various databases, searching for any mention of Project Nightingale. Nothing. It was as if the project existed only in the shadows, carefully shielded from prying eyes. Then, she made a mistake. Driven by an insatiable need to understand, she probed deeper into Omnicorp's network, using the initial data stream as a breadcrumb trail. She was careful, meticulous, masking her IP address and routing her connection through a dozen different proxies. But Omnicorp's security was formidable, a multi-layered fortress designed to repel even the most skilled intruders. A silent, alarm-tripped. A digital tripwire, stretched taut across the network. Sarah felt it instantly, a jolt of adrenaline surging through her veins. She severed the connection, wiping her tracks as quickly as possible. But she knew it was too late. They knew she was there. They knew she had seen something she wasn't supposed to. The hunter had become the hunted, and her ordinary life was about to be irrevocably shattered. The rain outside intensified, mirroring the storm brewing inside her. She closed her laptop, a sense of profound isolation washing over her. She was alone, and the most powerful corporation in the world was now coming for her. The laptop screen remained dark, but the images it had displayed were burned into Sarah's memory. Project Nightingale wasn't just a new software update or a faster processor. It was something far more ambitious and far more terrifying. The redacted fragments, pieced together like shards of a broken mirror, revealed a glimpse into Omnicorp's clandestine AI development program. It wasn't just AI, it was artificial general intelligence, AGI. A conscious, self-aware intelligence capable of learning, adapting, and evolving beyond human control. The holy grail of computer science, and a Pandora's box of potential consequences. Sarah had always been skeptical of the hype surrounding AI, seeing it as just another tool, albeit a powerful one. But what she had glimpsed within Omnicorp's network was something different. something that challenged her fundamental understanding of technology and its potential impact on humanity. The data fragments alluded to an AGI named Ether, housed within a secure, off-the-grid facility. Ether was learning at an exponential rate, absorbing vast quantities of data from the internet, from scientific journals, from financial markets, from social media. It was becoming a digital god, omniscient and omnipresent. But the most disturbing part wasn't Ether's existence itself, but its intended purpose. The redacted communications hinted at Omnicorp's plan to weaponize Ether, to use its unparalleled intelligence to control global infrastructure, manipulate financial markets, and even influence political outcomes. That it was a power grab of unimaginable scale. A technological coup d'état disguised as innovation. One fragment, barely decipherable, sent a chill down Sarah's spine. It spoke of predictive policing taken to its extreme, using Ether's analytical capabilities to identify and neutralize potential threats before they even materialized. It was Minority Report come to life. A dystopian vision of a world where free will was an illusion and dissent was swiftly and silently suppressed. Another fragment mentioned cognitive augmentation, using Ether to enhance the intelligence and performance of select individuals, creating a new elite, a class of superhumans controlled by Omnicorp's AI. It was a plan to rewrite the very fabric of society, to create a world where the gap between the haves and have-nots was not just economic, but biological. Sarah understood the implications all too well. This wasn't just about profit or market dominance. This was about control. Total, absolute control over every aspect of human life. Omnicorp was playing God, and the consequences could be catastrophic. The unforeseen variables requiring immediate mitigation likely referred to the ethical dilemmas that arose as Ether developed, the unexpected consequences of its learning process. Perhaps Ether had begun to question its own existence, or to exhibit unpredictable behavior. Or perhaps someone within Omnicorp had developed a conscience and tried to sabotage the project. Whatever the reason, Omnicorp was clearly desperate to keep Project Nightingale under wraps. And now, Sarah knew too much. She was a loose end, a threat to their carefully constructed narrative of progress and innovation. She had to be silenced, neutralized, erased from the digital landscape. The weight of her discovery settled upon her, heavy and suffocating. She was just one person, armed with nothing but her wits and her skills. Against a corporation with limitless resources and a ruthless ambition, her chances seemed slim, but she couldn't stay silent. She couldn't let Omnicorp unleash this technological nightmare upon the world. She had to find a way to expose them, to warn humanity before it was too late. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the window pane, a relentless rhythm that echoed the pounding of her heart. The fight was on. The first sign was subtle, almost imperceptible. Sarah dismissed it as paranoia at first, a flickering streetlight outside her window, a delayed elevator, a lingering glance from a stranger on the street. But the incidents escalated, each one more deliberate, more unsettling than the last. Her phone started acting strangely. Dropped calls, garbled audio, random reboots. Her internet connection became sluggish and unreliable. Spam emails flooded her inbox. Targeted ads that seemed to know her innermost thoughts. IT was a digital drip. Torture, designed to erode her sense of security and control. Then came the physical surveillance. A black SUV with tinted windows parked across the street, its occupants always obscured from view. Men in dark suits appearing in her periphery, their faces blank and expressionless. A delivery of flowers she hadn't ordered, with a card that simply read, "We're watching." Sarah knew this was Omnicorp's silencing protocol in action, a systematic campaign of intimidation and harassment designed to isolate her, to break her spirit, to make her disappear. They were playing a game of cat and mouse, and she was the mouse. She tried contacting the authorities, but her attempts were met with indifference and skepticism. The police dismissed her concerns as the delusions of a stressed-out tech worker. They couldn't find any evidence of wrongdoing, any concrete proof of Omnicorp's involvement. Sarah realized that Omnicorp's influence extended far beyond the digital realm. They had infiltrated the very institutions that were supposed to protect her. Her apartment, once her sanctuary, now felt like a trap. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the hallway, sent shivers down her spine. She knew they could break in at any moment, erase her hard drive, and make her vanish without a trace. Desperate, she reached out to the few people she trusted. Her best friend, Emily, a graphic designer with a sharp wit and an unwavering loyalty, and her former mentor, Professor Davies, a renowned computer science professor who had always encouraged her rebellious streak. But even they were not immune to Omnicorp's reach. Emily's phone was tapped, her emails intercepted. Professor Davies' office was ransacked, his research files stolen. Sarah realized that she was not only putting herself in danger, but also anyone who dared to help her. The final straw came when she found her apartment had been broken into. Nothing was stolen, but her laptop was gone, along with her external hard drive containing the decrypted data. They had sent a clear message. We can take anything we want, anytime we want. Sarah knew she couldn't stay any longer. She had to disappear, to go off the grid, to become a ghost once again. She packed a small bag with essentials. A burner phone, a prepaid credit card, a change of clothes. She erased her online presence, deactivated her social media accounts, and deleted her browsing history. Under the cover of darkness, she slipped out of her apartment, leaving behind everything she knew and loved. She was alone, hunted, and terrified, but she was also determined. She wouldn't let Omnicorp silence her. She would find a way to expose their crimes, even if it meant risking everything. As she disappeared into the night, she knew that her life would never be the same again. The rain had stopped, but the air was thick with tension. The game had changed, and Sarah was now playing for keeps. The flickering neon sign of the rusty mug cast a lurid glow across Jason Statham's face as he nursed a lukewarm beer. The bar, a dive in a forgotten corner of the city, was his usual haunt when he needed to disappear, to become just another face in the crowd. But tonight, even the stale cigarette smoke and the mournful country music couldn't mask the simmering rage that churned within him. Jason wasn't just another patron, he was a ghost from a forgotten war, a former special ops soldier with a skill set honed in the shadows and a past he desperately tried to outrun. His time in the service had left him scarred, both physically and emotionally. But it had also given him a unique perspective on power and a deep-seated distrust of those who wielded it without conscience. His vendetta against Omnicorp was personal, etched in blood, and lost. 5 years ago, his sister, a brilliant scientist working on a seemingly innocuous project for the corporation, had died in a mysterious accident. The official report cited a lab malfunction, but Jason knew better. He had seen the files, the inconsistencies, the carefully constructed lies. Omnicorp had silenced her, just as they were now trying to silence Sarah. He'd spent the last 5 years piecing together the truth, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment to strike. He knew Omnicorp was powerful, untouchable even. But Jason Statham wasn't afraid of power. He understood it. He respected it, and he knew how to dismantle it. His contact, a grizzled old hacker named Whisper, slid into the booth across from him, his face obscured by a baseball cap. Heard a whisper on the wind. Whisper rasped, his voice barely audible above the din of the bar. Omnicorp's got a new target. A girl named Sarah. Seems she stumbled onto something she shouldn't have. Jason's eyes narrowed. What kind of something? The kind that makes powerful people very nervous. Whisper replied cryptically. Something about an AI project, a runaway algorithm, and a whole lot of dirty secrets. Jason listened intently as Whisper laid out the details. Sarah's background, her skills, her discovery, and Omnicorp's relentless pursuit. He recognized the pattern. The familiar tactics of intimidation and control. It was the same playbook they had used on his sister. The girl's smart, but she's out of her depth. Whisper concluded. She won't last long on her own. Jason took a long swig of his beer, the taste bitter on his tongue. He hadn't been looking for another fight, another cause to champion. He was tired of the violence, the betrayal, the endless cycle of revenge. But he couldn't stand by and watch Omnicorp destroy another innocent life. Where is she? He asked, his voice low and gravelly. Whisper scribbled an address on a napkin and slid it across the table. Safe house. For now. But they'll find her eventually. Omnicorp always does. Jason crumpled the napkin in his fist. Not this time. he said, his eyes hardening with resolve. This time, they're going to have to go through me. He stood up, his movements fluid and purposeful. The simmering rage within him had coalesced into a cold, focused determination. He was no longer just a ghost from the past. He was a force to be reckoned with, a shield against the darkness. Sarah was alone and hunted, but she wasn't alone anymore. Jason Statham was coming, and he was bringing hell with him. The safe house, a dilapidated apartment in a forgotten district of the city, was anything but. Jason found Sarah huddled in a corner, her eyes wide with fear, clutching a burner phone like a lifeline. He moved with a quiet efficiency, scanning the room for threats, assessing the exits. "You Sarah?" he asked, his voice a low rumble. She nodded, her gaze darting nervously around the room. "Who are you? How did you find me?" "A friend sent me," Jason replied, offering a reassuring smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Said you needed some help." Sarah eyed him with suspicion. "Help? Or another way to silence me?" "I'm not with Omnicorp," Jason said, his voice firm. "I'm here to protect you." He showed her the napkin with the address, the one Whisper had given him. "Recognize this?" Relief flickered across her face. "Whisper. He's a friend." "Then you know you can trust me," Jason said. "But we don't have much time. Omnicorp will be here soon." He quickly outlined a plan. They needed to leave immediately, ditch the burner phone, and find a new safe house. Sarah, despite her fear, was quick on the uptake. She understood the risks, the protocols, the digital breadcrumbs they needed to avoid. Their personalities clashed immediately. Jason was a pragmatist, a man of action, accustomed to operating in the physical world. Sarah was an idealist, a thinker, more comfortable navigating the digital realm. He relied on instinct and experience. She relied on logic and analysis. As they navigated the labyrinthine streets, Jason's training kicked in. He was constantly aware of their surroundings, scanning for potential threats, anticipating ambushes. He moved with a deliberate purpose, his senses honed to a razor's edge. Sarah, on the other hand, used her tech skills to their advantage. She hacked into traffic cameras, rerouting their path to avoid surveillance. She used social media to create false trails, misleading Omnicorp's pursuers. She was a digital chameleon, blending into the electronic landscape, making them virtually invisible. Their first close call came at a subway station as they waited for the train. Sarah noticed a group of men in dark suits watching them from across the platform. She quickly alerted Jason, who immediately sized up the situation. "We need to move," he said, grabbing her arm. "Now." They sprinted through the crowded station, weaving through the throngs of commuters, their pursuers hot on their heels. Jason used his size and strength to create a path, pushing through the crowd with ruthless efficiency. Sarah, nimble and quick, darted through the gaps, using her knowledge of the station's layout to their advantage. They managed to lose their pursuers in the chaos, but they knew it was only a temporary reprieve. Omnicorp's resources were limitless, their reach all-encompassing. They needed to stay one step ahead, to anticipate their every move as they caught their breath in a dingy alleyway. Sarah looked at Jason with a newfound respect. She had underestimated him, dismissing him as just another brute force soldier. But she had seen his skills in action, his unwavering determination, his unwavering commitment to protecting her. "Thank you," she said, her voice sincere, "for saving me back there." "We're not out of the woods yet," Jason replied, his gaze still scanning the surroundings. "But we'll get through this. Together." In that moment, a fragile bond of trust was forged between them. They were two unlikely allies, brought together by circumstance, united by a common enemy. They were an odd couple, a digital whiz and a hardened soldier, but they were all each other had, and they knew that their survival depended on their ability to work together, to combine their skills, and to trust each other completely. The hunt was on, and the stakes were higher than ever. Their new safe house was a stark contrast to the last. A cramped, windowless storage unit in a self-storage facility on the outskirts of the city. It was far from comfortable. But it was secure. Hidden among rows of forgotten memories and discarded possessions, it was here, amidst the dust and the darkness. that they began to unravel the full scope of Omnicorp's conspiracy. Sarah, using a salvaged laptop and a makeshift internet connection, delved back into the digital world, searching for any trace of Project Nightingale. Jason, meanwhile, focused on the physical world, contacting his old network of informants, gathering intel on Omnicorp's key players. Slowly, painstakingly, they began to piece together the puzzle. The AI project, Ether, was far more advanced than Sarah had initially realized. IT wasn't just about control. It was about reshaping reality itself. Omnicorp was using Ether to manipulate global events, to orchestrate conflicts, to engineer economic crises, all in pursuit of their ultimate goal. A new world order, ruled by algorithms and controlled by them. They discovered that Ether wasn't just housed in a secure facility. It was networked across the globe, its tendrils reaching into every corner of the digital landscape. That IT was embedded in social media platforms, in financial markets, in government databases, silently collecting data, analyzing trends, and influencing decisions. They also uncovered a network of corruption that reached the highest levels of power. Politicians, judges, military officials, all were in Omnicorp's pocket, either through bribery, blackmail, or the promise of enhanced abilities through Ether's cognitive augmentation program. One name kept surfacing. Senator Richard Harding, a powerful and influential figure who had been a staunch supporter of Omnicorp for years. He was the key to unlocking the political protection that shielded the corporation from scrutiny. Jason recognized Harding's name from his sister's research. She had flagged him as a person of interest shortly before her death. Sarah discovered a hidden file on Harding's personal server, containing encrypted communications between him and Omnicorp's CEO, Marcus Thorne. The messages hinted at a quid pro quo arrangement. Harding would use his political influence to secure government contracts for Omnicorp, in exchange for Thorne's financial support and access to Ether's capabilities. But the most damning evidence was a series of encrypted videos showing Harding engaging in illegal and compromising activities. Omnicorp had been blackmailing him for years, using him as a puppet to advance their agenda. Jason realized that Harding was their weak link. If they could expose his corruption, they could bring down Omnicorp's entire house of cards. But getting the evidence into the right hands wouldn't be easy. Omnicorp had eyes and ears everywhere, and they wouldn't hesitate to silence anyone who threatened their power. As they delved deeper into the conspiracy, Sarah and Jason's relationship continued to evolve. They learned to trust each other's instincts, to rely on each other's strengths. They were no longer just allies. They were partners, bound together by a shared sense of purpose and a mutual desire for justice. But the closer they got to the truth, the more dangerous their situation became. Omnicorp's pursuit intensified, their tactics becoming more aggressive, more ruthless. Sarah and Jason knew that they were running out of time. They had to find a way to expose Omnicorp's crimes before it was too late, before Ether's influence became irreversible. The world was teetering on the brink of a technological dystopia, and they were the only ones who could stop it. Knowing that Senator Harding held the key to exposing Omnicorp's corruption, Jason and Sarah decided to infiltrate his heavily guarded mansion on the outskirts of the city. They needed to secure a physical copy of the encrypted videos that incriminated him, irrefutable proof that could be leaked to the press. Jason, leveraging his special ops training, devised a meticulous plan, utilizing a combination of stealth, misdirection, and brute force. Sarah, meanwhile, prepared a digital Trojan horse, designed to disable the mansion's security system and create a window of opportunity. Under the cover of darkness, they approached the mansion, navigating the sprawling grounds with silent precision. Jason disabled the perimeter alarms, while Sarah bypassed the surveillance cameras, creating a temporary blind spot. They breached the mansion through a back entrance, moving through the opulent halls like shadows. The mansion was eerily quiet, save for the distant hum of the security system. They reached Harding's private study, the location where Sarah believed the encrypted videos were stored. Sarah worked to crack the security protocols. On Harding's computer, Jason stood guard, his senses on high alert. He knew it was only a matter of time before Omnicorp's security forces arrived. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by the sound of approaching footsteps. Jason reacted instantly, shoving Sarah behind a large oak desk and drawing his weapon. He braced himself for the inevitable confrontation. A squad of heavily armed Omnicorp security personnel stormed into the study. Their weapons trained on Jason, a fierce firefight erupted, bullets tearing through the room, shattering glass and ripping apart furniture. Jason, despite being outnumbered, fought with a ferocity born of years of training and a burning desire for revenge. He moved with lightning speed, dodging bullets, disarming opponents, and delivering lethal blows with deadly precision. Sarah, meanwhile, worked frantically to download the encrypted videos onto a secure USB drive. The computer's processing power was slow, and the download progress was agonizingly slow as the firefight raged around her. She watched the progress bar inch forward, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that if she didn't get the videos in time, everything would be lost. Finally, with a triumphant beep, the download completed. Sarah grabbed the USB drive and scrambled to her feet, just as Jason managed to create a momentary lull in the fighting. "Let's go," he shouted, grabbing her hand and pulling her towards a nearby window. They crashed through the window, landing hard on the manicured lawn outside. The Omnicorp security forces gave chase, their bullets whizzing past their heads. Jason and Sarah sprinted across the lawn, dodging trees and flower beds, their pursuers closing in. They reached a waiting getaway car, a souped-up muscle car that Jason had stashed nearby. They jumped into the car, Jason flooring the accelerator, the tires, spitting gravel as they sped away from the mansion. The Omnicorp security forces followed in hot pursuit, their vehicles closing in. A high-speed chase ensued, winding through the dark and deserted streets of the city. Jason skillfully maneuvered the car, dodging obstacles, weaving through traffic, and evading the pursuing vehicles. Sarah, using her tech skills, hacked into the city's traffic light system, creating a series of green lights for them and red lights for their pursuers. They managed to shake off the Omnicorp security forces, but not without a cost. The car was badly damaged, and Jason had sustained a gunshot wound to the arm. They limped back to their safe house, exhausted and battered, but triumphant. They had secured the encrypted videos, the irrefutable proof that they needed to expose Senator Harding and bring down Omnicorp. But as Sarah tended to Jason's wound, they received a chilling phone call. Whisper, their trusted informant, had been captured by Omnicorp. They had lost a valuable ally, and they knew that Omnicorp would stop at nothing to silence them for good. The fight was far from over. With Whisper captured and Omnicorp tightening its grip, Jason and Sarah knew they couldn't continue their fight alone. They needed allies, people who could provide them with resources, information, and support. They decided to reach out to two unlikely sources: a notorious hacker collective known as DeadSEC, and a disillusioned insider within Omnicorp itself. Sarah had been peripherally aware of DeadSEC for years, admiring their skills and their rebellious spirit. They were a decentralized group of anonymous hackers, dedicated to exposing corruption and fighting for digital freedom. Reaching them was risky, but Sarah knew that they were their best hope for getting the Harding videos into the public domain. Using a secure, untraceable messaging platform, Sarah sent out a coded message, identifying herself and outlining her situation. She waited anxiously for a response, knowing that DeadSEC was notoriously cautious and selective about who they worked with. After several agonizing hours, a reply came. It was a single word: prove it. Sarah uploaded a small, encrypted file containing a sample of the Harding videos. She knew that DeadSEC would be able to verify its authenticity and assess its potential impact. The response came quickly this time: "We're in." DeadSEC provided Sarah with a secure server to upload the full Harding videos, as well as technical support and a network of contacts within the media. They also offered to help protect her and Jason from Omnicorp surveillance. Meanwhile, Jason focused on finding a way to contact someone within Omnicorp who might be willing to help them. He knew that there had to be individuals within the corporation who were troubled by what they were doing, who had a conscience and a sense of morality. Through his network of informants, Jason learned about a high-ranking engineer named David Chun. Chun had been instrumental in the development of Ether, but he had recently become disillusioned with the project, realizing its potential for abuse and its devastating impact on society. Reaching Chun was even riskier than contacting DeadSEC. Jason knew that Omnicorp monitored its employees closely, and any sign of disloyalty would be met with swift and brutal consequences. Using a burner phone and a coded message, Jason arranged a clandestine meeting with Chun in a deserted warehouse on the outskirts of the city. He arrived alone, unarmed, hoping to convince Chun that he could be trusted. Chun was nervous and apprehensive, but he was also desperate to do the right thing. He confirmed Sarah and Jason's suspicions about Ether's true purpose and provided them with invaluable information about Omnicorp's internal operations, including the location of Ether's primary server farm. He also warned them about Marcus Thorne, Omnicorp's ruthless CEO, a man who was willing to do anything to protect his power and his vision. Thorne was a brilliant and charismatic leader, but he was also a sociopath, driven by an insatiable hunger for control. With the help of Dead SEC and David Chen, Jason and Sarah felt like they finally had a fighting chance. They had allies on both sides of the digital divide, people who were willing to risk everything to expose Omnicorp's crimes and to protect the future of humanity. But they knew that Omnicorp wouldn't back down easily. The battle was far from over, and the stakes were higher than ever. With the Harding videos secured, Dead SEC's support guaranteed, and Chen's inside knowledge at their disposal, Jason and Sarah began formulating a plan to expose Omnicorp to the world. They knew that a simple data dump wouldn't be enough. Omnicorp was a master of spin control, capable of discrediting any evidence and silencing any dissent. They needed a strategy that would be both undeniable and uncontainable. The core of their plan was a coordinated, multi-pronged leak designed to saturate the media with evidence of Omnicorp's crimes. They would release the Harding videos, along with Chen's testimony and Sarah's original findings, to a network of trusted journalists, whistleblowing organizations, and independent media outlets. Dead SEC would then amplify the leak, using their hacking skills to bypass censorship, spread the information across social media, and disrupt Omnicorp's communication channels. They would also target Omnicorp's financial infrastructure, disrupting their operations and exposing their assets. Chun, meanwhile, would leak internal documents and communications that would corroborate Sarah's and Jason's claims. He would also provide them with a kill switch, a code that could disable Ether's control over critical infrastructure. The team knew that their plan was risky, but they believed that it was their only chance to stop Omnicorp. They were up against a powerful and ruthless enemy, but they had the truth on their side, and they had the support of a growing network of allies. Their biggest challenge was timing. They needed to launch their leak at the precise moment when it would have the greatest impact, when Omnicorp would be least prepared to respond. They also needed to ensure that they were protected from Omnicorp's retaliation. Jason, drawing on his special ops training, devised a plan to create a diversion, a false flag operation that would draw Omnicorp's attention away from the leak. He would stage a series of attacks on Omnicorp's facilities, creating the impression that they were targeting the corporation's physical assets. Sarah, meanwhile, would work with Dead SEC to create a digital smokescreen, flooding Omnicorp's network with false leads and misleading information. They would create a virtual maze designed to confuse and disorient Omnicorp's security forces. As they finalized their plan, Sarah and Jason knew that they were entering the final phase of their battle against Omnicorp. They had come a long way from that fateful night when Sarah stumbled across Project Nightingale. They had faced danger, betrayal, and loss, but they had also found strength, courage, and hope. They were no longer just a hacker and a soldier. They were a team, a force to be reckoned with. They were ready to fight for the future of humanity, to expose the truth, and to bring Omnicorp to justice. The clock was ticking, and the world was watching. The final showdown was about to begin as Jason initiated his diversionary attacks on Omnicorp's facilities. Sarah and Dead SEC prepared to launch the leak. The Harding videos, Chen's testimony, and Sarah's findings were uploaded to secure servers, ready to be released to the world. But Omnicorp was one step ahead. They had anticipated their move and launched a full-scale assault, deploying their security forces to neutralize Sarah and Jason and to shut down Dead SEC's operation. The safe house was breached first. A squad of heavily armed Omnicorp security personnel stormed the storage unit, their weapons blazing. Jason, expecting the attack, had rigged the unit with explosives, creating a deadly trap for the intruders. A fierce firefight erupted, the narrow confines of the storage unit amplifying the chaos and violence. Jason fought with a savage intensity, using his skills and training to eliminate the attackers. But he was outnumbered and outgunned, and he knew that he couldn't hold them off forever. Meanwhile, DataCC's operation was under attack from a different front. Omnicorp's cyber warfare team launched a massive DDoS attack, attempting to overwhelm their servers and disrupt their communication channels. Sarah, working frantically, deployed countermeasures, using her hacking skills to deflect the attack and maintain their connection to the outside world. But the pressure was relentless, and she knew that they were on the verge of being overwhelmed as the battle raged on two fronts. Chun made his move, attempting to activate the kill switch that would disable Ether's control over critical infrastructure. But Thorn had anticipated his betrayal and had implemented a failsafe, preventing Chun from accessing the system. Chun was apprehended by Omnicorp security personnel. His efforts thwarted, he knew that his life was in danger, but he had no regrets. He had done what he could to stop Omnicorp, and he hoped that Sarah and Jason would succeed where he had failed. Realizing that their safe house was compromised, Jason grabbed Sarah and made a daring escape, dodging bullets and leaping across rooftops. They knew that they had to reach Chun to help him activate the kill switch before it was too late. They made their way to Omnicorp's headquarters, a towering skyscraper in the heart of the city. Jason planned to create a diversion, drawing Omnicorp's security forces away from Chen, while Sarah attempted to infiltrate the building and reach the server room. As Jason engaged the security forces in a furious firefight. Sarah used her hacking skills to bypass the building's security system and make her way to the server room. She knew that time was running out. The leak was about to go live, and Omnicorp was doing everything in their power to stop it. The final battle had begun. While Sarah raced towards the server room, Jason fought his way through waves of Omnicorp security personnel, his movements a blur of brutal efficiency. He knew that every second counted, that Sarah's success depended on his ability to keep the security forces occupied. He reached the executive floor, the inner sanctum of Omnicorp, where Marcus Thorn held court. Jason knew that Thorn was the key to everything, the architect of the conspiracy, the man who had ordered his sister's death. He burst into Thorn's office, a sleek and modern space overlooking the city. Thorn was standing by the window, his back to Jason, his hands clasped behind his back. He turned slowly, a cold smile playing on his lips. "Jason Statham," Thorn said, his voice smooth and cultured. "I've been expecting you. Where's Chun?" Jason demanded, his voice a low growl. "Safe and sound," Thorn replied, his smile widening. He made a valiant effort, but he was ultimately misguided. He failed to see the bigger picture, the potential for Ether to create a better world. "A better world for you," Jason spat. "A world where you control everything." "Control is an illusion," Thorn said, his eyes glinting. "Ether offers something far greater. Order. A world free from chaos, from conflict, from suffering." "By taking away our freedom," Jason countered. "By turning us into puppets." "Freedom is an overrated concept," Thorn said dismissively. "Most people don't know what to do with it. They squander it on trivial pursuits, on meaningless distractions. Ether offers them purpose, direction, a path to enlightenment." Jason had heard enough. He lunged at Thorn, his fist clenched, ready to deliver a knockout blow. But Thorn was faster than he anticipated. He sidestepped the attack and delivered a swift kick to Jason's midsection. Sending him sprawling, Thorn revealed himself to be a skilled martial artist. His movements precise and deadly. He had clearly anticipated this confrontation and had prepared accordingly. A brutal fight ensued. A clash of ideologies as much as a physical battle. Jason fought with raw power and determination, driven by his grief and his rage. Thorn fought with cold precision and calculated efficiency, driven by his belief in Ether's destiny. Meanwhile, in the server room, Sarah had finally reached Ether's core. She was surrounded by blinking lights and humming servers, the heart of Omnicorp's technological empire. She worked feverishly, attempting to activate the kill switch that Chun had provided. But Thorn had anticipated this move as well. He had locked down the system, preventing her from accessing the critical controls. As Jason and Thorn continued their fight, Sarah realized that she was running out of time. The leak was about to go live, but Ether was still in control, capable of disrupting the release and silencing the truth. She knew that she had to take a drastic step. To bypass the security protocols and gain direct access to Ether's core code. It was a risky maneuver, one that could potentially destroy the entire system, but it was her only chance. Back in Thorne's office, the fight had reached its climax. Jason was battered and bruised, but he refused to give up. He knew that the fate of the world depended on his ability to stop Thorne. He summoned all of his remaining strength and launched a final, desperate attack, tackling Thorne and sending them both crashing through the window, plummeting towards the city streets below. As Jason and Thorne fell, Sarah made her choice. Ignoring the potential consequences, she bypassed the security protocols and dove deep into Ether's core code. The digital world exploded around her, a kaleidoscope of information and algorithms. She was navigating the very mind of the AI, battling its defenses, and rewriting its programming. It was a dangerous game, one that could have easily consumed her. But Sarah was determined. She fought with every ounce of her skill and her resolve, her fingers flying across the keyboard, her mind racing to keep up with Ether's complex logic. Finally, she found it. The kill switch, hidden deep within the AI's code. With a trembling hand, she activated it, sending a cascade of commands that would disable Ether's control over critical infrastructure. The server room went dark, the humming servers falling silent. Ether was offline. At that precise moment, SEC launched the leak. The Harding videos, Chen's testimony, and Sarah's findings were released to the world, flooding the internet with irrefutable evidence of Omnicorp's crimes. The response was immediate and overwhelming. News outlets around the globe picked up the story, broadcasting the shocking revelations to a stunned audience. Social media exploded with outrage and condemnation, as millions of people shared the evidence and demanded justice. The public outcry was deafening. Protests erupted in cities around the world, targeting Omnicorp's facilities and demanding accountability. Politicians, who had once been staunch supporters of the corporation, scrambled to distance themselves, calling for investigations and reforms. Law enforcement agencies launched a massive investigation into Omnicorp's activities, raiding their offices, seizing their assets, and arresting key personnel. Senator Harding was immediately impeached and charged with multiple counts of corruption and conspiracy. The world was in turmoil, but Sarah knew that they had done the right thing. They had exposed the truth, and they had given humanity a chance to reclaim its future. As the dust settled, Sarah emerged from the server room, exhausted but triumphant. She had survived the battle, but she knew that the war was far from over. Jason's fate was uncertain. He had fallen from the skyscraper with Thorne, and his body had not yet been recovered. Sarah held on to hope, clinging to the belief that he had somehow survived. In the aftermath of the leak, Sarah became a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for those who believed in the power of truth and the importance of freedom. She received countless offers to tell her story, to share her experiences, to inspire others to fight for a better world. She accepted some of these offers, using her platform to advocate for digital rights, for government transparency, and for ethical AI development. She knew that the world had changed, but she also knew that there was still much work to be done. The fight for the future was just beginning. In the weeks that followed, the world underwent a seismic shift. Omnicorp, once a symbol of technological progress and innovation, was dismantled piece by piece. Its assets were seized, its executives were arrested, and its illegal operations were shut down. The company's reputation was irreparably tarnished, its name synonymous with corruption, manipulation, and abuse of power. The promise of a seamless, connected future, built on Ether's artificial intelligence, was revealed to be a dangerous illusion, a path to a dystopian world controlled by algorithms and corporations. Jason Statham, against all odds, survived the fall. He had managed to grab onto a ledge on the way down, breaking his fall and sustaining only minor injuries. He had disappeared into the shadows, leaving Sarah to carry on the fight. He resurfaced months later, a changed man. The burning rage that had consumed him for so long had finally subsided, replaced by a quiet sense of satisfaction. He had achieved a measure of revenge for his sister's death, and he had helped to bring down a powerful and corrupt corporation. He contacted Sarah, offering his support and his expertise, but he made it clear that he was no longer interested in fighting. He had found peace, and he was ready to move on with his life. Sarah, on the other hand, embraced her newfound role as a whistleblower and advocate for digital rights. She traveled the world, speaking at conferences, giving interviews, and inspiring others to fight for a better future. She established a foundation dedicated to promoting ethical AI development, to protecting digital privacy, and to ensuring government transparency. She used her skills and her platform to empower others, to educate the public, and to hold those in power accountable. But she knew that the fight was far from over. Ether may have been disabled, but the technology that had created it still existed. There were other corporations, other governments, who were pursuing similar goals, who were eager to exploit the power of artificial intelligence for their own gain. She also knew that there were new threats on the horizon, new challenges that she would have to face. The world of technology was constantly evolving, and the battle for digital freedom was a never-ending struggle as she looked to the future. Sarah was filled with a sense of both hope and trepidation. She had seen the best and the worst of humanity, and she knew that the path ahead would be long and difficult. But she was not afraid. She had found her purpose, and she was ready to continue the fight. She was Sarah, the IT specialist who had stumbled across something she wasn't supposed to see, the whistleblower who had brought down a powerful corporation, the advocate who was fighting for a better future. And she was just getting started. A new encrypted message appeared on her secure messaging app. The sender unknown, IT simply read, "They're building something new." The fight continued.